Going to speak to him right now. He's in West Palm Beach. I presume you're probably feeling pretty buoyed up, pretty full of adrenaline, Nigel. It's been a long night, but my goodness me, what a comeback. I mean, I'm calling it the greatest comeback, I think, since, somebody suggested, since Bobby Ewing woke up from his dream and came back out of the shower.
Well, Bobby Ewing, Napoleon, probably Churchill, actually.
Yeah.
Because Churchill's career was in complete ruins, and he came back from it, of course, and finished up as a complete hero.
Yeah.
Not just then, but 80 years later, he still is. It's remarkable, and it says something about the man. Think how down and out he was.
Yeah.
Legal cases coming out of his ears, abuse on the most extraordinary level. We've almost forgotten, haven't we, the assassination attempts that he's been through. I mean, the guy is, Mike, I got to tell you, I know him well. He's a friend of mine. I've never met anybody with more resilience, anybody with more courage, anybody with more single-minded determination in the whole of my life. And this is a very big personal victory for him. It's just remarkable.
It really is. And what energy as well for a man. You know, they tried to paint him when they didn't have anything else left before they got to the Hitler jibes and the kind of, you know, he's going to make America a fascist state. They tried to make out that he was in some way cognitively challenged. You know, the night before the vote, the night before the election, he was out till like 2:15 in the morning. He was up again at 6. You know, the guy seems to be non-stop working.
Oh, I was with him at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Had a little chat about life. He just looked completely laid back, totally relaxed. Do you know, he spoke on stage yesterday for 6 hours.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
Now I know that Mike Graham could speak for a long time. It's true. But I mean, 6 hours.
But half of the people I'm talking to disagree with me, but that's a different thing.
I mean, it is unbelievable.
It really is. And I mean, what a pleasure it must be for you to have been there and witnessed it, because as we were following the news last night, we started off at 1 a.m. here, you know, we were watching the New York Times ticker, the New York Times needle, as they called it, started off at 1 o'clock, around about sort of point 1 in favour of Kamala Harris. By the time we finished the show, it was starting to look, I mean, I actually finished the show at 4 o'clock and said, I think he's done it. I think he's going to do it. And I wasn't absolutely sure, but there was never a moment during the first sort of 3 hours of the counting that I felt that the Democrats were anywhere.
No, you're right. And I mean, obviously, Biden, catastrophic president, Kamala, who, I mean, no one knew what she even stood for. Vacuous was the word that I used for her very early on, and she did nothing to dispel that. But also, this is middle America saying, we've had enough.
Yeah.
We're sick of 10 million illegal migrants coming into our country. We're sick of law and order collapsing in our cities. We can't bear the fact that, you know, a box of eggs costs double what it did 4 years ago. And we hate the fact that we're near a World War III than at any point in any of our lifetimes. And they're the reasons that Trump got elected. He also did something remarkable, Mike. He built a coalition. It wasn't just him anymore. You had J.D. Vance, a very, very bright guy, working hard on the ground, all out around the country.
Yeah.
But you had a Kennedy. I mean, can you believe it?
Yes.
A Kennedy backed a Republican and added a new slogan, make America healthy again.
Yeah.
You know, cut down on junk food, cut down on prescription drugs, all of that I agree with. And then, of course, Elon. I mean, the amazing Elon Musk that comes in. So suddenly it wasn't just Trump. He was presenting a team of people to the American public, and then through that built an amazing coalition of African-American blacks, of Latinos, of young men, more Jews than have ever voted Republican in the history of the organization. This is a remarkable electoral coalition. In fact, do you know what? Tonight feels like Brexit.
Yeah.
This is like the Brexit night. Yeah, it really is.
Funnily enough, you're not the first person to say that. And one of the really interesting statistics I've got here in front of me, he's won more voters under 30 than any Republican presidential candidate since 2008. And when I was talking, of course, to Democrats last night, some of whom were still so deranged, talking about how he's going to put concentration camps on American soil, you know, to put... And I was like, stop using phrases like that. Stop saying things like that. It's not real. It's not funny. it's very provocative. And Donald Trump himself said, you know, these are the reasons why people shoot at me. You know, you get similar treatment. You know, people talk about you in ways which is quite disgraceful, and it's dangerous, isn't it?
Very dangerous. That rhetoric is very, very dangerous. Even now, I'm hearing, Mike, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, London, because it's going to be a demo.
Yeah.
There's going to be stand up against racism, will protest in the streets of London tomorrow. And yet he's done more to bring together different racial communities than any president ever in the history of America.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about that, because is this the beginning of a kind of fight back against that woke ideology, you know, that you described, the gender ideology, you know, the business of the you know, equality, inclusive and all that rest of it, the DEI stuff? Because, you know, I said this the other day, isn't it strange that Hezbollah are more popular in London than they are in Beirut? In Beirut, everybody's happy they got rid of Hezbollah. In London, they're still marching around with placards supporting them.
I mean, I know. Well, it just shows you that we've lost our marbles in London. But much of the reason for that is because we've had an uncritical political class, a very uncritical, almost supportive political media. Look, the pendulum is swinging. It's swinging. And the Trump phenomenon is the biggest part of that pendulum swing. You're going to see this kind of thing replicated right across the West as Marine Le Pen becomes president of France in 2 years' time, which I'm convinced she will. And in the UK, well, who's to say? But I think we may be on the verge in the UK of very big political change.
Well, absolutely right. And let's face it, you know, David Lammy is in a pretty bad place right now. Lots of people are saying you know, but probably the most powerful politician in Parliament because you are so close to Donald Trump and he's a personal friend of yours. Roger in Rotherham says it. You know, Keir Starmer's congratulated him. David Lammy is very mealy-mouthed congratulated him in a very hypocritical way. I mean, do you know what he really thinks of Starmer and Lammy?
Well, what I do know is what he thinks about the UK. He has a very deep affection for our country in a way that no American president has had for absolutely decades. You know, his mother, Mary, of course, was a Scot. Yeah. His investments, his overseas investments, the biggest ones are in, no surprise, Scotland. Yeah. His adoration of the late Queen. You know, he gets the connection. He really, really gets the connection. He sees us as being more important than our size today would suggest. Because we're the bridge to Europe, we're the bridge to NATO, we're the bridge to the European Union, which, by the way, he's even more Eurosceptic than me in some ways. Yeah. He doesn't believe in all that nonsense at all. Right. But therein lies an opportunity. We have an opportunity to do a trade deal outside of the Trump tariff regime.
Yes.
But it's going to need Keir Starmer to roll out the red carpet and to roll it out PDQ. And Trump will forget what Lammy said. He'll forgive even Sadiq Khan, well, maybe, you know, in his behaviour over the last decade. Yeah. He is a much more forgiving man than people give him credit for. He'll always want to look for a deal. He'll always look to sort of try and do the right thing. And you know what? If I can be helpful in that, I will. Despite being a political opponent of Starmer and Blair in many, many ways, what I do know is that our relationship with America is crucial to our future survival.
And a lot of people asking me this question. Jim has sent this one in. Would Nigel be taking a new role in the new year with Donald Trump? You've intimated there that you're certainly willing to help any kind of deal that the government can do. Does that mean that you're kind of you would be officially or unofficially a kind of a bridge between the US government and the UK government?
I decided in June to stand in Clacton at the general election to try and become their MP. That happened, and that is my primary duty, right? So I'm not going to give up being the MP for Clacton to take on any ambassadorial role of any kind at all. Let's be clear about that. But behind the scenes, I could, if wanted, I think be very helpful.
And I mean, I'm sure that would be something that Keir Starmer would love to do. Can you imagine his supporters saying, why have you hired Nigel Farage to act as one of your envoys? I mean, there might be some resistance to that. But would you accept something like that if he offered it to you?
Unofficially, yes. I couldn't take an official role, You know, as the leader of Reform, I could not take an official role, but if I could help behind the scenes in any way at all to smooth over the difficulties of 100 Labour activists, staffers going to campaign for Kamala Harris, of the risk by giving away the Chagos Islands, of Diego Garcia being lost to the US Air Force, of the things that are been said by Lammy, by Khan, even by Starmer himself. There are some obstacles here.
There really are.
And he is likely to make us sweat a bit.
Yes, I think
just
so.
Because So you know, in diplomatic terms, what our government have done with him in America is ludicrous, stupid, schoolboyish. But I know these things can be mended, and if I can be helpful behind the scenes, I will.
Yeah, this morning, actually, I offered my sincere thanks to those 100 Labour activists who had gone all the way to America to help Kamala Harris, because job done, it would seem. They certainly took their winning formula to her, and now she's ended up getting slaughtered.
No, you're right.
It's a great day, though. I mean, you would not believe. I mean, you probably would believe, but because you like Mr. Trump, you have your finger on the pulse. I mean, the outpouring of love for Donald Trump from our listeners and from our viewers is extraordinary. Yeah. You know, everybody thinks this is a great day for Britain, which is really encouraging, because now they think.
Yeah, no. It is.
Yeah.
It is. He's showing us a way forward. He's showing us the political deadlock of failure can be broken, and he's had the courage to do it in America. And you know what's really exciting? Elon Musk will come in and take the figurative knife to the bureaucratic,
the red tape,
administrative state, and the hundreds of thousands of people working in bureaucracy who make us poorer, make our lives more miserable. He sacked 90% of staff at Twitter when he bought it. I'm very excited about the radical reforms that will come from Trump too, when he has a majority also in the Senate and probably in the House as well. We're in for a wild ride here of radical reform. It's going to be sexy, it's going to be exciting, and I hope what it does is give us a blueprint, because goodness me, we're mired with this nonsense as well.
Absolutely right. Great to see you, Nigel. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. We'll see you when you get back. Nigel Farage, Reform's UK leader there, over congratulating Donald Trump and enjoying the moment. And why not, indeed.